What's up, guys? Ben here with the Health Matrix, still down in Oregon, and this video is going to be about our fake food and an explanation of just how fake this food is and why you shouldn't be eating it, how to tell it, and how to avoid it. Okay? So, first, I want to touch on if you haven't read the book Fast Food Nation, I highly advise it. If you're someone that cares about nutrition or food or the industry or the history of how our food came to be, the history of how all this fast food came to be. In the book Fast Food Nation, I'll just go through some quick bullet points. One thing he talks about is when McDonald's was started. And now we know McDonald's obviously as one of the worst foods out there, or, restaurants, if you want to call it that, in the country. It's everywhere. It's on every corner. It doesn't matter where you go, even if you go to other countries. Although if you go to Europe, for instance, you will notice that McDonald's is a lot healthier because the ingredients there have to they have to align with the European Union food laws or specific countries' laws, which are a lot stricter. So I actually went to McDonald's in Rome, Italy, and it was a night and day difference. But anyway, we know that these fast food restaurants, and I won't even talk about the other ones, Wendy's, Burger King, right? All of these fast food restaurants are all over the place. Usually, like if you go to the corner of any middle-sized city, you will find 4 or 5 of them within a block of each other, and they're all thriving generally. You'll have a Jack in the Box, you'll have a McDonald's, you'll have a Wendy's, you'll have Burger King, Taco Bell. It's really pathetic. But going back to Fast Food Nation, so McDonald's actually started in Denver. Back when Denver was first being formed, which was as a mining town, I believe in like I may be off drastically with the years, but I think it was the late 1800s or the early 1900s, something like that, when it was a mining town. People were moving west, and Denver started up. It was a great place to start a city. And what happened was they started McDonald's started as an actually using like local ground beef. You have to remember back then, we didn't have this crap. The artificial flavors and the preservatives and all the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, it was actually like local meat. They were genuinely making hamburgers and cheeseburgers. What happened was, I can't remember the name of the guy that started McDonald's, but it was bought out by 1 or 2 other individuals, and they started up the industrial fast food line of production, this like assembly line style production that you see at all the fast food restaurants now. And with that, all the quality of the food went down the drain. But that's just one thing in Fast Food Nation that he talks about. The thing I want to touch on is the artificial flavor industry. So it's been a long time since I read that book, so the name actually escapes me of who wrote it. I'll have to put it in the description, but he said basically in New Jersey, on the New Jersey Turnpike, there's like a square block that is basically where all these artificial flavoring plants and factories are located. And it's an interesting story because it goes really into how they can make what I call the Frankenstein foods and how they can make them taste good and how these companies make their food so addictive and so hyper palatable that you want to just keep eating it. It's another one of these matrix ideas where they want, just like social media strives to keep you attached as long as possible to their app or their program, these fast food companies want to keep you addicted and attached to their food, so they make it hyper palatable and wanting you to come back for more. And it gets more nefarious than that, because these artificial flavors companies, they were using something, it's called gas chromatography. And if you don't know what that is, it's a scientific method that actually has been also used to solve crimes. It's got a lot of actual uses. What you can do is actually put pretty much any item or compound, organic compound, into it, and it will break down into the individual, like down to the molecule of what is in that organic compound. So what they did, this is how the flavor industry or artificial flavor industry came about, is they would put something like a strawberry, for instance, and then they would isolate what made it taste like a strawberry. So in the back of your throat and where your olfactory nerves are, as they're called, and those are where your taste comes from. You can tell that your nose has so much to do with taste, because if you plug your nose and eat something, oftentimes you can barely taste it, maybe not even taste it at all. Okay? And this is because the receptors back here in your throat are where your body gets all those different sensations of this is sweet, this is sour, and there is on the tongue as well, but we won't go into the science of that. But so what they did is they going to the strawberry, they isolated what made the strawberry taste like a strawberry, and then they chemically, artificially made that compound. And then they would actually have control group studies. I shouldn't say studies, but they would bring in taste experts. Like, how there's like wine tasters that can sip wine and tell you like exactly where in the world it came from, because they're taste testers. That's what their job is like they're really good at isolating a taste, whatever you want to call it. But they would keep on experimenting until they could fool the taste testers, so that they would say, oh, this is strawberries. And then the scientists would come and say, well, actually, it's artificial strawberry. And that's when they knew they hit a really good artificial flavoring. And so they do that with all types of things. Obviously, all these different fruits. Generally not vegetables. They generally keep it to things that are hyper palatable, because strawberries are sweet. Sweetness and sugar is something that keeps people coming back for more. They'll do it with blueberries, blackberries, whatever. One of the first times, and I've talked about this in other videos, that I ever came to this conclusion that this was going on was that when I was starting to understand nutrition and reading food labels, I was looking on the back of like those Yoplait yogurts, those little packets, which you should not be eating, by the way, because it's totally fake. This is an example of a Frankenfood. It would be called like Strawberry Blast or something, and then on the back it would say contains, it would be like some super low number, like contains 10% fruit. Sometimes they say contains 0% fruit. And so, being a scientific minded person like myself, I'm eating this strawberry flavored yogurt that tastes like strawberry. I can taste it. And they've even got the clumps in there, like it's clumps of ground up strawberries. And I'm wondering, it's got 0% strawberries, but it tastes like strawberries. It doesn't take a genius to understand that this is a strange phenomenon. So this is one of the biggest examples of Frankenfoods, of how they will create completely fake foods, because obviously this strawberry yogurt, while it may have tasted like strawberries, had zero of the benefits of a strawberry, of an organic strawberry. You're not getting any of the vitamins, the minerals, the vitamin C. There's all these like different flavonoids the things that are in fresh fruits and vegetables, the health benefits, the antioxidants, you're not getting any of that. All you're getting is the taste of strawberry, which has no health benefit whatsoever. And in fact, just because they'll have artificial sweeteners as well, just fools your body into thinking it's getting strawberries. And this is one of the things that's making people so sick over time, is because you're not getting any of the benefits of these foods. So now you can go ahead and extrapolate that out to all the candy, all these different fruit drinks that are like 0% fruit juice, uh, you know, fake flavorings that just don't give you any of the benefits. And then there's also, and then of course they have the artificial colorings. So that's what they would add to the Yoplait yogurt. So what you're basically getting with that Yoplait yogurt, which is a great example, is the taste of strawberries, the look of strawberries, because they use the artificial coloring of a strawberry mixed in with a bunch of sugar to give you that sensation that you're eating strawberries. And of course, you're getting a bunch of processed sugar. So basically, you're getting a processed clump of highly processed. Sometimes there's actual yogurt in there, but it's not like your quality Greek yogurt. It's just like processed junk with a bunch of sugar that has the artificial colorings of a strawberry and the artificial taste of strawberry. So you're getting nothing, and it's a net negative, because not only you're not getting the health benefits of any of the strawberries, you're actually getting the health detriments of the flavorings and the colorings, which we've heard in the news even recently, are linked to hyper neural activity in the brain. You know, you've got RFK out here talking about artificial sweeteners, and most people have no idea how any of this works, so they fight him because of what administration he's in. But so you've got all these kids with like ADD running around with attention deficit problems. And the Frankenfoods are partly to blame. So also, I want to talk about like Beyond Meat. There was a girl on Facebook that artificial meat, which is, we're getting into the realm of diabolical at this point with these artificial meats, because I just think these freaks in that industry, these scientists that have no idea, like either they don't know anything about nutrition. This is clear, or they know about nutrition and they don't care. They're just out to make a buck. So I don't know which is worse. They're either stupid or they're knowingly evil and driven by money and do not care about people's health at all. Because she posted a picture of her Beyond Meat, or it was Impossible Meat, one of the two. But it was Beyond Meat, fake meat, because they got her because she wanted the ethical route, where a lot of people go vegan or whatever because they don't like animal cruelty and they don't like industrial farming, which is understandable. So they ended up eating Franken meat, which is essentially like lab grown meat, usually from like really cheap processed soy, which soy protein, I'll just go on a slight little aside. Personally, quality soy protein is not a bad food. I consume some shakes that have soy protein. It's only like 10% of my daily calories. But if you eat edamame, you're getting soy protein. But it's not this like estrogen causing thing if you eat it in the proper form. But now processed soybean oil, which is pressed seed oils, is not healthy at all because of the processing generally. That's for another video. But they've got this like kind of tofu type of thing. And then they also have to make, what I thought was interesting was that I had to ask her about the fake blood because they wanted to make the burger look like a burger. It's not a burger. It's obviously just complete fraud. It's a burger is meat. That's it. There's no plant burgers. You can call it a soy patty if you want, but it's not a burger. Um, and so there's this. I remember researching this years ago about how they made this fake blood so that the burger appeared juicy. And it's just this chemical compound. And of course, the company that made it is like, oh, this is perfectly safe. And, blah, blah, blah. But then, like, it was generally recognized as safe. This industry is so, if you look at the FDA and the USDA and these different industries, it's so diabolical. The regulatory industry's been captured. So they use what's called generally recognized as safe, where the actual company that creates the product, the fake food, can like actually give it its own label. It's a topic for another time. But just know that you're not being protected by like the USDA or the FDA or anything like that. But so this fake, they got the fake blood. One company uses like beets, which I guess is a small improvement. But the other company, it was either Beyond Meat or Impossible Foods. I get the two mixed up. One of them uses like beet extract to get the color, but regardless, it's not meat. It's a processed food with a small amount of synthetic vitamins uh, injected into it in some form or fashion. They'll say, oh, it's got just as much iron as meat. See, it's got just as much. It'll have some like, and these are generally crappy, non-absorbable forms of the synthetic vitamins. There's different forms of iron and calcium and things like that, or like vitamin C. But they'll put in like the really cheap version, of course, because they're out to make money. They're out to make the product as cheap as possible, as few health benefits as possible, while looking like the real thing. And so they cut corners at every conceivable area. And so you end up with the fake meat. You'll see it at Chipotle. You'll see it at restaurants. But so in conclusion, it's like a massive portion of our food is fake. It's like the last one I'll touch on is just like chicken, for instance, livestock. We all know that industrial farming is bad, and you should try to get organic meat whenever you can. One of the reasons is like if you look at how chickens are non-grass fed chickens, or whatever you want to call free range chickens. Look, there's chickens that you see running around outside, eating bugs, eating stuff on the ground, right? Food scraps, whatever. Healthy chickens, getting sunlight, that's how it's supposed to be. But even if you go to the store and let's just say you get the cheapest eggs possible, they're like $2 a dozen or something, right? And the yolk is really yellow and they're usually white eggs. Those chickens are grown indoors, generally in complete darkness, nothing but artificial light, kind of like humans. Like most humans in cubicles are, indoors all day with artificial light, kind of like I am right now. And so they're not getting natural sunlight. They're not, and they're getting like corn pellets, a really cheap, just powdered food of some sort that they just kind of throw in there. And then they're fattened up artificially. They're not allowed to use antibiotics on chickens. That's a national law. So, but hormones, yes, and things in the food and palatants, as they're called. I've talked about palatants, like MSG is a palantant. It'll make these animals eat as much as possible. Like they won't stop eating. Oftentimes chickens won't stop eating. I mean, they eat all day long. But these chickens, that's why they get super fat. So they get super fat in a super short amount of time. And then that doesn't even include how the I guess the owners who's running these industrial chicken farming operations will actually, like, after they slaughter these artificially fattened, grown in the dark Franken chicken, freak of nature chickens that also don't have any nutrition because their food is garbage, and they've been walking around their own feces and their brothers and sisters' feces their entire life in the dark. That's what people are eating generally when they eat chicken. And so, like, they'll actually, like, I think they'll, I don't know if they'll inject the chicken thighs with like water. Somehow they like waterlog the chickens to make them way heavier so they can get more money for it, right? They're like, here, so you end up with those. You can tell at the grocery store an organic chicken breast will be a lot smaller and more expensive. And then you'll get the inorganic, natural, or like normal chicken that's just like bloated, doesn't taste very good, kind of rubbery. That's another example of a Frankenfood. It's like it's like a zombie chicken. But anyway, guys, so this is one reason why reading food labels, understanding food literacy is extremely important to health. And you will notice a huge difference if you can if you can just avoid the artificial colorings. Now, it doesn't, and artificial colorings, obviously the fake meat is a no bueno. If you're going to be a vegan or something, just eat vegetable. Don't eat fake meat. Don't be stupid. And the artificial flavorings, the other artificial colorings, if you read on the back of something that contains fruit and it says like 15% fruit and it's, what you have to ask yourself, what is the other 85%? It's fake food. It's fake synthetic garbage. Now, that doesn't mean, so like my nutrition company that I work with, I'm a distributor for, I really like because like if I get a supplement from them and it's like a flavor of some sort, it's always, it'll be like pomegranate extract as the flavoring. Or for coloring, you'll be like beetroot you can use to color something. So that's different. If it says red dye number 5, that is a lot different. That's totally different than like beetroot, which will dye the product a certain color, but it's beets. That's natural. So, guys, reading food labels is obviously, watch out for what you're eating. Food labels are important. Food literacy is important. You won't learn any of this at school. You won't learn any of this from most of your friends or society. You definitely won't learn this from the food industries. So you have to do it yourself, which I've always said that's the whole point of the health matrix, is only you can break out of it. All right, guys, that's all I got for this video. Talk to you later.